Hey, it's Ari coming at you from the ACM Aerospace Alley Trade Show. We are really excited to be here again. There's over 100 suppliers, hundreds and hundreds of students in this great trade show in what is known globally as Aerospace Alley. We're interviewing a full slate of leaders, companies big and small, and can't wait to get started. Just a quick reminder for you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better. All right, I'm here with Michael Polo, the well-known Michael Polo, president of the ACM and president of ACMT. Michael, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Ari, for having me.
Listen, dude, well, heck of a show, my man. Heck of a show. What are you thinking?
Well, the kids portion is always so much energy. We had 1,300 kids in here this morning, and I think I want to hire every one of them that we talk to as interns, or even some that are too young, because in our state you got to be 16. And we've met some 14-year-olds that I want to, like I said, we'll hire them and they'll stay in the office until 16.
And then just hang around till later.
Yeah, just great.
What were you hearing? Like the kids, what kind of questions were you hearing? Just for people who haven't been here and are listening for the first time. It's a really wide range. I mean, we've talked about earlier, there's over 100 companies that are here, all in the aerospace supply chain, basically. And so you got all different kinds of stuff, whether it's, secondary operations, heat treat, finishing, building, adhesives. We got all kinds of stuff. We got people that are talking. We got people that are doing virtual demonstrations. And I'm just curious, you got kids of all different ages. What are you hearing? What are they interested in? What are they asking?
So ironically, a lot of them still have no idea that manufacturing is in Connecticut, which blows my mind.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, and so
that means my podcast needs to get more exposure, Michael.
Well, we got to get younger. How are we going to get younger audiences on the podcast?
So I will tell you, by the way, I had a kid from Xavier High School walked up to me, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to shake your hand. I'm a huge fan of the show."
I love it.
So
and Xavier is such a great progressive school. We've got 4 of their students working with us. They're great, but most other schools don't do what that kid does. So we got to figure that out, But it's all that. So.
So would they come up to you and just say, "Hey, wait, we still make things here?"
So we actually play a little dirty pool. So our company is a fabricator. So what I do is I say, and we have, I call it metal origami. So you have a flat pattern that we cut through a laser water jet, and then you bend it into these outrageous assemblies. And so I'll always say, once because everyone makes paper airplanes when they're a kid, and once you connect that to, oh, maybe I can do this. It's such a, the light bulb goes off because they realize it's not that difficult to connect those two things,
Hold on. So you bend the metal. So you literally have it explain it to me again.
So we cut a flat pattern of a shape.
Yeah.
And then we have either robots or people that bend it into all different 3D parts.
Little origamis.
Yeah.
And then that's what's on the table here.
Yeah.
So the kids are coming by being how the heck did we do this?
Yeah. So what we'll say is, here's the finished part. How would you make that? And they go, well, we cut this, and we show them, well, that's the detail, that's the the part of it, and then they assemble it, and then we go through all the processes and all that. Now some of our guys get a little too detailed where the kids glaze over, but that being said, once you realize robots can do those things and how the process goes. We've got a bunch of kids that want to come over and I call it playing, and that's another thing. You got to talk their language. So I don't say working, I say playing. We have a friend Tony that says I've never worked a day in my life because you just enjoy doing what you're doing. But so those are kind of the big things, the takeaways that I've had.
And do you guys? I know you're really involved in a lot of stuff. I assume you guys have high school kids or whatever coming through the shop
Definitely.
At times.
We actually have an intern class 2 years ago that has a patent at our company. We love getting kids.
Let's get into that. You have an intern class that has a patent?
So we had 3, let me think, what year was that? We had 3 engineering students from UConn as interns and 2 high school kids from Xavier that were on a team, and they developed, we told them, we're not giving any blueprints, I want you to develop a press that does this and this and this and go out and do it. Well, they spent the summer, and at the end, we built it with their prints and patented it because no one ever thought of a press doing what it's a bottom acting press. And make a long story short, they now are on a patent.
get out of town.
Yeah.
How cool. I mean, listen, what a success story, right? And I think it's something that, just as I'm talking, I'm thinking to myself, sometimes you approach a problem and we don't even realize we're in the box.
Right.
Right, you're thinking, we got to approach this differently. We're into Kaizen. We continuously improve. We're going to look at it, blah, blah, blah. But you're in your own box. You're inside of constraints that you don't even know you're in, right? So one of my favorite things is you can't read the label from inside the bottle. And the thing is, like, that's when you're in, sometimes you don't even know you're in the box. And then you bring in kids who have
zero.
They don't even know the box to be in to begin with, right? Literally, the sky's the limit because they don't even know what they don't know, so there are no constraints. And you harness that, and what is that doing for you guys now?
So it's great. So now what we're doing, we're scaling that press to do other things, right? And and I love telling that story. The problem is I have this, again, Tony that works with us that sells every kid on it, and now every kid wants a patent. I'm like, no, it doesn't always happen.
That's right.
You're not going to get a patent.
But you know what? It doesn't hurt to motivate them, Michael.
It
doesn't hurt to motivate them. And those kids, I mean, that's the other thing too, right? Those little victories, right? I mean, we're now telling that story. It's going to get out more and more, and those kids are telling that story. And it's sort of the old version of viral, right? It just goes sort of word of mouth. The next thing you know, boom, people are kind of seeing what can be done inside of manufacturing. So when you're explaining to the kids here about it, is it the making something that you think's inspiring them?
I do.
Is it the robots? What do you think captures the imagination?
Well, the robots, CCAT's got all these great robots here, and and we don't because ours are way too big to move.
Right.
But that being said, kids of today are very, very, they're very 3D. So they think digitally where we think we always think analog and we think digital. Where they think digital. So we've got to get better at intriguing them with that. Like, we're already talking next year, we're going to actually bring screens with models and then tell them how, from the flat pattern, how we design it and develop it. And that's really what intrigues them, The other thing that really intrigues them is when we tell them, we'll pay for your school.
Ooh.
So that's another big deal. We will pay for you to go to school while you're working for our company, and hopefully you stay for a long, 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 long time. But that, like, kids go, really? Yeah, parents don't have to pay. We'll pay. You come work at our company and we'll pay. And that's another really big, number one, eye-opening experience. But more importantly, it's a good draw.
It's a very, very good draw. And it's funny you're talking about digital natives and thinking digitally. But when I hear you talking about paying for school and all that, it kind of harkens back to, the old days, right? Going back as far as the 1800s in Colt manufacturing, where not only did you get a job at Colt, but your housing was in the Colt plant. Yep. They had their own baseball fields, the Colt baseball team, right? It was sort of that bigger, take care of it. And so while we're moving forward digitally, it seems like ACMT is a little bit looking at the past and saying, hey, let's be in this together.
Yeah. And what's great about it is you can do it distance. Meaning they can be home working it. So we can, I was just telling a couple of kids, once you spend a summer with us, when you're back at school, if you have time off, or you can come work for us, we'll give you a badge, or you can log in, we'll give you a laptop. And they're home working on projects that we're doing in either Connecticut or Florida, and frankly, they don't have to be there if they can't be there. So it's
so what are they doing for you? I mean, because I think that's another thing, right? So people think of manufacturing, and they're like, I got to be there, right? The bell rings at 9, I got to go in. There's a bell at 12. I got to get my pail, half-hour lunch. Bell rings, I'm back in. Then I'm out at 4 or whatever it is. It's not like that.
No. So our methods of manufacturing are all digital, meaning they're in you log into a system, and then engineers you make the recipe. All that can be done somewhere else. I don't even need you in Connecticut, although I'd like you in Connecticut, but you can be doing that elsewhere. So what happens is, once we introduce them to a project, say we're building a process for a new assembly, and we explain it to them, they spend a week or whatever going through the process, and now we say to them, and again, it's rudimentary, but it works over time. Okay, now start writing it. So they go in and our engineering people will critique it and say, okay, this, you change this and change that, because all the standards are already in the system. So they're pulling data so when we quote something, there's a basic skeleton of what the process is going to be. When we win it, we pull that skeleton into the production module or into the development module, and we write all the other stuff. That's what these kids are doing. Then we also need people that audit it to make sure that it's pulling the
Quality
right
control.
well, it's pulling the right raw material so that you're ordering enough raw material, because in our world you're buying sheets of material and you're cutting skeletons out of it, meaning you're taking parts out of it. So if you don't have the right numbers, you either get way too much material or you run out of material. So it's all that where they're going out.
Neither one of those is a good outcome.
Neither one. So they're going out and they either have to measure it, or once they get good at it, they can actually look at a model and say, oh, that's going to be 21 square inches. And then, oh yeah, it's really cool. So we say all the time to these digital thinkers, math is kind of a big deal, right? So math is kind of a big deal. And then problem solving in the shop, it becomes a big deal. But a lot of these kids love math. And so algebra and geometry and all that, because that's really what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about complex, multi-dimensional calculus here.
Yeah.
This is like geometry, algebra.
Yes.
So it's not, it's not just basic adding 2 plus 2, but it isn't, Einstein science. We can do it at a good level. So that's really cool. So then let's talk a little bit more about the show. I mean, we had the lunch. We heard from Paul. What do you think about our speeches at lunch today?
I got to tell you, a lot of a good theme there, where it's all about 4.0 and digital, right? We keep talking the digital thread, and on our GEM in Connecticut Center for Advanced Technologies, they show really well under Ron's leadership. They built a great team. We lean in all the time. So it's funny, as a business owner who thrives in technology, I love telling people about CCAP, but then I don't want too many people coming, because it's kind of like West Palm Beach. You tell too many people, you can't get through the roads, right? So you gotta and Ron
you
will
want to be
laugh.
able to get a table, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Ron will laugh at that, but truly, we're constantly telling people, man, you got to go lean in and do this, because they've got so much good stuff going on. And Paul is a great advocate for all the funding to get this stuff done.
Paul's, I got to tell you, Paul, I know he's only not even been a year on the job. He's out there cheerleading, making noise, and we talked to him earlier at the booth. He was really giving us the talk about the 25-year plan, CMMC, model-based definition, additive manufacturing, and then kind of next-gen fuel. And it's really nice, kind of seeing them all together. And you're talking about Ron, because the great thing about CCAT, right, is we get this funding from the outside, and you can go out to East Hartford and you can see the stuff in action. You can work with Ron's team, help you prototype some stuff. And here I am. You might not be able to get a reservation at that restaurant if I keep going on. But, it's really, really cool. And then to add it all up, Ron even has some money on the side to help you put the stuff in your shop.
Right. It's kind of interesting. I don't think the state of Connecticut has really collaborated with the nonprofits and the industry quite like they are now. So kudos to the governor. I mean, definitely the governor and the leadership of Connecticut, letting them know, because all that does is 1 + 1 = 5. And so, it's not 1 + 1 = 2.
No,
it's not.
I
so
know.
so we do it in the ACM. Our strength in ACM is collaborating with people, bringing in those resources that we don't have early on in the project, so they not only know what's going on and through the development, but once production kicks in, they're not blindsided and going, wait a minute, you didn't tell us it's going to be that many parts. So we in ACM really have gotten really good at talking to people, and because we know each other, we walk around this you know what they do. I can say, I've never done this before, but they have.
Right.
And so come on over, let's do it. And I've got some great, I see Bodycoat, they're a great collaborator. Let's get some of these guys, because you're so much better under the whole umbrella to get things done for the customers.
Something you mentioned, since I've been, even before the podcast started 3 years ago, and since everyone used to talk about alphabet soup and we can't get anything done, and there's no collaboration, and there's a bunch of islands, and there's 170 towns, but it feels like 700 towns. And I have to say, I'm not saying it's gone, so I don't want to do that, but I do think that if I take a step back and think, and you really just touched on it, it looks a lot different in 2022 than it did even in 2019 or 2018. I think ACM has been a model since founded in 2000, 2002?
2002.
2002. It's been a model of that collaboration, and I think maybe it's been an inspiration for the rest of it.
Well, I got to say something too. A lot of the old generation of people running things retired. And so you have all these new, think about it, we had CBIA, you had Constep, you had CCAT, all their presidents retired within like a year. And so you had all new people that came in, and they realized that, collaborating
might be time to do something a little bit differently.
Yeah, and they were really good thinkers that came in. I'm not saying anything against the ones that went out, but it was a different dynamic, I guess I would say.
And we've seen that too, I think, in the trade orgs, right?
Yep.
Whether it's manufacturer TT or EMA or whatever.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of turnover. I mean, you think that's been whatever the reason is. I'm really happy about it, and I think we need a lot more of it.
Well, it's funny. I always say my father's generation, they didn't share anything with anyone. Our generation, we share everything. One of my favorite stories is, so we had a supplier that came in. We buy Trump equipment out of Farmington. It's great equipment. And they had a company come in from, I want to say, Ohio, that did our competitors' parts in another engine program in Ohio. You could probably guess it just because it says Ohio. So when they came in, they wanted to come see our shop because we have the robotic piece of equipment they were looking at. And at the time, my friend Tony and Dad said, don't show them the shop, we're not going to. Well, while we're talking to them, they're really good guys. While we're talking to them, I said, no, we're showing them the shop. We show them the shop, they take us to dinner. Make a long story short, every show we go to, they send us customers because we do things they don't do. And Tony and Dad said, I will never question you again, because what you don't realize is we don't do that welding. Can you guys do that welding? Here's a guy's name from Boeing. They gave us a Boeing. I mean, it's like, so what it does is if you think the other way, it hinders opportunities that you didn't even know you had.
You know something, it goes back to this saying a good friend of mine always says, givers gain.
Right.
And there's just no question about it.
Yep.
We're not saying be a fool. We're not saying send them your customer list
right.
and your pricing and everything else.
Yep.
But I think to your point, you go out there, you build these relationships, and the sum of the parts, the rising tide, whatever you want to call it, it just works in the end. It's a great example. So what do you got on tap for the rest of the afternoon? A little bit of networking?
So we're doing some networking. We got some really good customers in. We've got Bell in, what's great about this venue is all these are also customers and suppliers. Yeah. So, and I say this, like when we go overseas to the either Paris Air Show or Farnborough, 50%, if not more, of our business is domestic because everyone is there. So you get dinners and lunches, and on the train on the way home, you meet people that you didn't even know. We met the head of Rolls-Royce turbines by sitting next to him, we're just having a conversation, and all of a sudden he gives you the card, and you're like, whoa, that type of stuff. So those type of relationships that blossom out of that is as important as the customers that are coming in looking at our
no doubt about it. And it's funny, people always say, you're not going to be successful growing your business sitting behind your desk.
Right.
You got to get out there. And this is a great opportunity to get out and networking. And I just, listen, under your leadership on ACM and your involvement, it's great. We love the show.
Yeah.
Energy's back. I mean, we're back, baby. I mean, it's 2019.
Finally.
Yeah.
We had a 2-year hiatus.
Yeah. It's been awesome. So thanks for stopping by the booth, Michael.
Ari, thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
Hey, I'm here with Jack Lukasik, President of Satellite Tool and Machine. Jack, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ari. I really appreciate it.
Listen, it's my pleasure. Before we get started, got to ask you the same two questions we always ask on this podcast to start off. What do you make, Jack, and why do you make it?
So we make aerospace parts for engines, typically for Pratt & Whitney, GE, Sikorsky as well, for helicopter components. But our main concentration is compressor cases, split cases, bleed valves, sink rings, all aerospace alloys that go into an aerospace engine or a commercial or military engine as well. Helicopter parts for the Black Hawk, as well as one of our proudest programs that we work on because of what it offers this country for safety and for recovery of certain situations like the hurricane down in Florida. So we take a lot of pride in our parts and what we do. We help defend this country. We help move people safely from point A to point B, right? We help all of us come together in situations like this from all over the world, all over the country. It's something to really proud of, We take a lot of pride in it. It is high-stress work, but that's aerospace, right? And we have a lot of highly skilled people working for us, and they work very hard. And it's definitely an rewarding business. It's changed a lot over the years compared to the 80s, right? Everyone thought it was factory, dirty, gloomy, Our brand new facility at 571 Nutmeg Road North, Commerce Way's old address, is nicely renovated. 69,000 square foot facility. We house about 70 people right now. And we're using about 45 of it right now functionally. There's room for expansion in that, obviously.
Good.
So we're actively looking for more help, especially in the quality area. And we have expanded our engineering department. We've added a VP of engineering, which is a great, bright new face to have. Comes from one of our OEMs, also extensive background in the aerospace industry, his whole career. So his specialty is exactly what we do.
Well, hold on. I'm going to get to all that, Jack. Wow, a lot to cover.
I'm just going real
No,
fast.
I appreciate it. No, absolutely. This is great. I love that. The passion's really fantastic. So just, listen, I know we're still in the sort of the student section of the show, and but just in general for people that are listening and might not know, what is a compressor casing? Where is that in the engine? What's so important about that to keeping an engine doing what it does?
So it does the compression, right? It gives it the thrust. It takes a lot of heat as well. So it's a very high intricate part, very expensive part. It takes a lot of skill on it, For our company, we do very large parts. We don't do small.
Give me a
we're talking
scale.
We go up
size?
to 63 inches in diameter, full 5-axis. The smallest we go is maybe 10 inches.
You say it's 63 inches
63
in diameter?
inches in diameter. So
it's like a solid 5-foot plus opening there.
Yeah, exactly. We do some very large parts. So
And just so the compression casing, just so I'm clear, so the way a jet engine works, right, is it brings in gas, compresses it, shoots it out the back end to generate some thrust. So you're the casing where all that compressing of the air is happening?
Yeah, we do that, and also the bleed valves also control the air intake. When the pilot feels the engine shaking, he can actually control the actual bleed valve,
Really?
open and close it to modify that shaking.
So that this part that you guys are making, not only is it big, but it sounds like some pretty heavy duty shit goes on in there.
Yeah, it's a movable part as well. So we do some moving parts, rotating parts as well, and static parts.
Wow.
So we go across all echelons of parts, from big cases down to small parts, a wide variety of parts in our shop. We don't specialize.
Is it typical
just
for one
part.
shop to do work on, engines and rotary lift? I mean, because you mentioned you do a lot for, I think you said GE Rolls-Royce. You also said Sikorsky's big, and certainly we'll touch on that in detail. But is there a lot of companies that do work for both sides of that?
I think there's a good handful, but not a lot. I think that's what makes us specialized, right? We do for the engines and for the rotary stuff, and for the Sikorsky helicopters. Typically for Blackhawk S-76 in the past, and CH-53K, 53H as well.
Wow.
So the good platforms to be part of.
Yeah, they've made a Blackhawk or two.
Yeah,
in that program's history.
Exactly, very successfully.
Yeah, and I think they'll be making a lot more. Like you said, Sikorsky's really proud of the fact. I think their mission is bring everyone home safely every time, or I'm close to it, something like that.
Exactly. Yep,
and so it must be cool for you to be a part of that. And I think you touched on something that not everybody knows, which is the Black Hawk platform. Certainly, people famously know the movie Black Hawk Down, and anytime you see any military activities, there's almost always a Black Hawk somewhere in that.
Yeah.
But the Black Hawk's done a lot more than just that, right? There's versions of the Black Hawk that we use that are used for the Coast Guard. There's versions of the Black Hawk that are used domestically, the Seahawk. Yeah. There's versions of the Black Hawk that are used domestically, not for military applications, but you mentioned, hurricane recovery. Even going as far back as to Katrina, people may remember Black Hawks kind of flying in there to help. I'm sure for Irma. So so the Black Hawk really has, it's a real workhorse, not just military. Offensively, but certainly in the domestic and the Coast Guard, and of course search and rescue. So it's a really important platform from a nation safety and then just a people engagement perspective too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your employees take some pride in knowing that they're helping to make that happen.
Yeah, we actually boast that a lot in our company meetings. We try showing them, the examples of where the product goes that we do. Right, it kind of creates that excitement behind it. We didn't do that 9 years ago. We said, yes, let's show them, where these parts go and what it actually does, and we see a lot of positive response from that. Of course, 9 years ago, we just got our feet wet into GE and Sikorsky, so we're kind of new and learning that echelon of the business, going from just a mom and pop shop, to what we are now.
Talk about that transition a little bit, Jack. So you went from sort of mom and pop, probably what people also call in the business like a job shop, and
Correct,
just sort of like running and gunning like that. And you seem to have evolved. Just give me a quick overview. What has that evolution been like?
It's been interesting, to say the least.
Growth always is, Jack.
Right, going from, and there's a family dynamic still, the family still runs the business. My father's pulling away. I don't tell him to come to work anymore. He just shows up. And
One day you'll just change the locks on him.
It's his fourth child.
Yep.
But going from that transition has been very challenging. Going from a very small company going to a larger, it's been fun as well and exciting. The growth has been tremendous. It has its challenges. But bringing on skilled people like our new VP of Engineering has brought a new light into the engineering department especially.
So talk about that a little bit. So just for someone that doesn't maybe fully appreciate the business, you've got different roles. And what's the relationship between people that are making parts and engineering?
So the relationship is interesting because engineering lays down kind of the path going forward, right? But we promote to our shop floor guys that if they see something that they can see improvements on, raise their hand, bring the idea to the table. But the important thing to remember is that if you bring an idea to the table, it doesn't mean it's always going to come to fruition, right? There's always pros and cons to every idea, but we're having more and more of those conversations on a daily level, on a weekly level, and on a monthly level in our company meetings, and it really creates more excitement around the product as opposed to the old way of thinking like, here it is, this is how you got to do it, and that's it. Mm-hmm. There are certain situations where it is engineering controlled and it has to be frozen, but there is procedures and stuff that should be followed to make sure the quality product is correct. So it is a good thing to have the employees hands-on. We take everybody's ideas no matter where they are, because sometimes I believe that looking far away at a project, sometimes you see things that are a huge point to make, very small, but could make a big thing in the end, could make it come to fruition. So even if the guy sitting on the floor goes, hey, why does that guy's fixture look like that or something? And just a small example, something simple that maybe the normal person can understand.
Yeah, let me just pull on that for 1 second. I'm going to circle back to your VP of Engineering. I think that's something that a lot of people need to know about modern manufacturing. I think too often people look at the manufacturing and they think, I show up, they tell me to push this button or run this part, and then I go home and I don't have an ability to make an impact on making things better. That doesn't sound like that's the case at Satellite.
No, it's not. Absolutely. We have forms to fill out. We have other procedures that are followed and implemented to make sure these ideas come to fruition, because sometimes a guy raises his hand, it's not written down and it gets forgotten, but we try writing it down and make sure we follow through with it. Give them a timeline of what it is, or give them reasons why we didn't decide to go that way, right? And most times when you give them that reason, they understand it or can understand it and take it better, where if you don't give them the reason,
feels like they were laying it to anywhere. Exactly. Yeah. I love that. And so it sounds like you're really making a point to engage people at the front lines and get their great ideas so they can be part of like the bigger execution.
Well, one of our biggest things that we're starting to implement to our company, you think of the company tree, right?
Yeah.
President on top, everyone on the bottom.
The pyramid, yeah.
We take it, flip it upside down.
Really?
So I support the rest of the company and not they support me, right? And my manager supports them. So if an operator is at the top of was the bottom of the triangle, now they're at the top of the triangle, we want to support them more. That's the mentality we're instilling in our employees. And we're seeing a lot of good things come of it, and it helps the operators feel more important because they are important,
They're extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not making a lot of parts without
Right.
the people on the machines. They're not getting out the door if we don't have the right quality people.
And
if people aren't packing them and shipping them, I mean, we got to get those people.
Quality
happy.
people are the key. Those are the ones that we're really having problems trying to find, and those are the important ones. It's a skilled set. It has to be learned. It has to be trained, right?
What makes a good quality engineer?
Paying close attention to detail is very important. Not going too fast, but going fast enough to support the customer's needs. That is the biggest challenge in quality.
Well, yeah. Well, you've got if people love attention to detail, tend to go a little slower,
right?
And then you got to make the speed. So that's interesting.
It is interesting, and it is a hard combination to manage. But to me, those are the two biggest attributes. Knowing how to execute something, right, the proper way, paying attention to detail, seeing all the I's and T's if they're dotted or crossed, right, understanding what you're looking at too. And a lot of times we find the best quality guys that made the parts.
Really?
So we like to promote within.
Taking people from the machines,
correct,
put them into the quality department.
We've had a guy come to us fully green, totally green, start him in turning. 2 years later, put him in milling. 2 years later, now he's programming CMMing, and now he's running the whole CMM department, for instance. And we've done that with a couple employees. So we definitely love to promote within and train, but we also train from the outside as well, bring them in too.
What a great, I mean, that's such a great career growth path story, right? Get started, we'll grow you, grow your career.
Yeah.
Sure that person's seeing raises along the way.
Correct.
So really
yeah.
great opportunity. So why'd you go outside for the VP of Engineering, and why is that role such an important and pivotal role at Satellite?
We needed a fresh look at things, right? We definitely needed someone with heavier experience based off the transition that we're going through. We're growing, right? So we need more help in that department. This gentleman has more extensive experience in newer technology as well to bring that into our facility to help manage that and mitigate that. So his expertise comes a long way, and it's great to have him on board.
That's fantastic. How long you been doing this, Jack? I mean, your passion is palpable.
I've been doing this my whole life. I came out of working through college and high school. I worked with my dad at his shop. So I've been doing it my whole life. Went to engineering school, University of Hartford, and been doing this full time since 1999. So, yeah, I think about that now. Wow, it's been 23 years.
Did you know growing up working in your dad's shop? Did you know one day? Did you feel like one day you want to be here?
I kind of had a feeling, but being 15, 16, having those typical headbutts with your dad, you start going, geez, I don't know if I really want to do this the whole time,
I don't know if I want pops breathing down my neck.
Yeah, but amazingly, it's been challenging, but it's been great too, because I value that time, that I spend with my father and my family. Some people even say, wow, I can't believe you guys meet each other for dinner later or on the weekend, and we're family. That's what we do, right?
That's what we do. Yeah, listen, I love to actually pull on that a little bit because I think it's really special. I was reading an article not that long ago that says most families, by the time your kid turns 18 and moves out to go to college, you've actually spent 80% of all the time you're going to spend with them in your life is already exhausted because you'll start seeing them less and less and less.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to kind of keep family tighter, of course, is what you've done. And I wonder, looking back, you mentioned your dad's kind of starting to phase out of the business. I wonder what you think, or what are some of the great memories you have of working with your dad over all these years?
Definitely him instilling the drive in me that's needed for this business, the go attitude, Also, he's taught me to try to look at things rationally, not move so fast. That's a tough thing, but it's fun, it's challenging. It's exciting. I mean, there's not much more to say about it.
What's been the impact on your relationship? You mentioned like most teenage boys butting heads with your dad. What's your relationship been with him? You've been working together now. Let's see, it's going to be 23 years, I guess.
Right.
At this point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. He comes into work. I'm like, what are you doing here? Well, I came to see you. Okay, great.
Yeah, I see you.
But it's because it's in him, right? He wants to see us too as well, and I realize that. So I don't ask him that question anymore, I try to give him little things and do, hey, can you help look at that? The guy in shipping needs maybe a new pallet jack or something simple just to keep him busy. But overall, he still comes in and he's still got his 2 cents, and it still helps. So that's why I enjoy it, because you can't replace that experience that he had, no matter how much the business has evolved since he's been pulling away in the past 7-8 years, But the relationship's been great, there's no doubt about it. I definitely cherish it 100%.
That's fantastic. So before we wrap up, Jack, I just, you've obviously made a big investment out there. It's South Windsor, right?
Correct, yeah.
So you're out there in South Windsor. You made a big investment, growing the business. You're investing in people. You're investing in facilities. What's giving you the confidence to do that? What are you seeing in the market that says this is the time to invest?
Well, I've seen the commercial market. The projections look great, right? The new engine, the gear turbofan engine, the new LEAP engine for Pratt. The Sikorsky product just continue on the Black Hawk and the new the new
Raider.
program, the Raider and stuff. We haven't gotten a chance to get on that, but we're looking to try to get on that Raider program. But just seeing that the technology, the innovation just gets you more excited, and we're integrating that into our shop with more probing, more scanning on the CMMs, and newer tooling technology, newer fixturing technology to be incorporated into the machines, not going with the old school type of ways, You got to go with the new technology, and that's what we're incorporating into that.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, Jack, I hear that all the time. I think one of the things Connecticut can be so proud of about our manufacturers, and we've got support from CCAT and other places, but we have been, and you're a great example of it, leaning into the future, investing in new ways to not just do process with their people, the pyramid upside down you talked about, but also investing in technology. I think that's the wave of the future.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, man, it was awesome hearing about Satellite. I really appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I'm with Paul Surowaniec from J&P Manufacturing. Paul, thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, listen, man, want to start off by asking you, what do you make and why do you make it?
We're in a turning business, manufacturing business, CNC turning, strictly just turning. 90% of our product is aerospace stuff. So we're turning mostly aerospace stuff, some defense work, but mostly everything is aerospace stuff. For Rolls-Royce is our main customer. And we're turning a lot of rings up to 20 inches. That's the size right now, but we are going to be expanding and we are going to be trying to get into bigger parts up to like 25, 26 inches.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I think it's a really cool story, right? Because family business just started in 2006. So often we're talking to manufacturers in Connecticut going back to the 1940s, 1950s. So it's really cool to have a kind of new business in the house. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about the business. How did it get started?
Yeah, so we moved here, the whole family moved from Poland in 1994. My mom's sister's husband has a machine shop here. My dad was working for him from 1994 to 2006. He ended up expanding and he had some room and said, hey, why don't you guys go buy a couple lathes, start off and do something I'm doing and help me out get the business started. I stayed with him for quite a couple of years and then we moved on our own. And now we got 10 guys shop and we're in the middle of expanding again. We were turning parts. We started very small parts. Originally we were turning from, washers to up to 10 inch. Now we're up to 20 inch. We double our size and now we're expanding. We're going to be turning up to like 25, 26 inches. Seems like there's more turning work.
Wow, what a great like American immigrant story. It's really terrific. How you like working with your dad?
I love it. We have a great relationship. I'm there. I do all the sales. I don't do much machining, but I do all the sales, customer relations, all the new jobs. I order the tooling for him. Pretty much anything he asks me, I do. But I cannot run a lathe. I wish I could. I can't.
You're the business brains, and he's the manufacturing brains.
He runs the whole shop for me. Without him, it would be very, very tough. He loves it. So
That's awesome.
He does the programming, setups. I mean, anything.
And how have you found the sort of business environment and being able to build in your aerospace manufacturing business here in Connecticut this time?
It's easier. It seems like lately there's a lot more work. I think because of shortage of employees, which I think everybody has that same issue. We do too. We're trying to expand and finding, good employees. That's why I'm here today, trying to find some new revenue. I mean, there's work. Definitely Connecticut. I mean, we never, how small we are, we never ran out of work. We've always been busy. Even with the pandemic, people saying, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, commercial planes are not flying. We're a little worried about that. And we never slow down. So it's been great. I think the biggest struggle right now is finding an employee.
Yeah, finding the employees. Is this your first ACM trade show?
Yes, it is. This is my first show, and I love it so far.
What do you think?
Oh, it's awesome. I can't believe it. My production manager I hired he used to be a good customer of mine, worked, and he retired, and he does work part-time for me. He got me into this. He worked for a big company, and he got me into this, and I think I'll be here every year from now on. I love it. It's a lot of fun. I met a lot of good people, a lot of good connections already that I was looking for. I've only been here since 8 o'clock, so.
You're killing it already.
Yeah,
2 hours
great.
into the day and you're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
When did you join the ACM?
This year was like right in January. When he started, I hired Scott in January, and that's when we signed up.
All right, so you've been on, and so we're in November 2nd,
11
I guess.
months with them.
So you've been to 10, 11 months in the thing, and you're already finding a lot of value in the networking and meeting other folks?
Yeah. Jessica Taylor, she's wonderful. She helped us out. She came to the shop visit. She got us all set up. We go to the meetings on every month. It's great. Yeah, we made a lot of good connections.
Where's your shop?
My shop is in Plainville, Connecticut, Robert Jackson Way.
Nice.
It's an industrial street, bunch of shops there.
Bunch of shops down there, yeah. I'm familiar with it. And so what are you thinking this morning? You mentioned you're looking for a lot of employees. I'm seeing lots and lots of kids around here. Are you talking to folks?
Yes, we made a lot of contacts. We give out our business cards. We actually met a couple people that are actually going to come in already maybe next week. And my father's great because we would start somebody and train them from scratch as long as, they're willing to learn. We would be, we don't need experienced guys. I mean, that helps if you know the basics, but we would teach them.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are you looking for? If you're looking to give someone's out there listening to this thing and saying, hey, you know what? Aerospace is cooking, manufacturing, the
Yeah.
new modern manufacturing sounds interesting. What do you look for? What would someone have to be successful at J&P?
Someone that's wants to learn the skills and running a machine. I think it's a great field, and I think no one's pushing it. Everyone's pushed the electric, the plumber, but not machinists. A lot of like my generation, for example. I graduated high school in 2001. I don't think one person went into that business. Everybody did something else, college or some kind of trade school. But now the manufacturing is so popular and it pays so well, and the demand in Connecticut is so big on this. I mean, I think it's a great field. I think people who get in and will make a good career out of this.
What do you love about it?
I just like the parts, and we make some exotic parts. Like most of our parts go into engine parts, and they're awesome. I just love it that a plane's gonna be flying with one of our parts up there.
You
So
just enjoy kind of looking up there,
Yeah.
knowing the parts on it.
Yeah.
So what are when you say you're looking for someone who's going to come in and they have an interest in manufacturing, you just want someone who wants to come in and just learn. If they want to learn and they're hungry, you take them
Yeah,
under their wing?
we would take that. I mean, we prefer at least someone knows the basics. So we interviewed someone last week. He went to school. He did his basics, so he knows how to do the G50 codes, little setup. He knows the Fanuc program. So he has the basics. So I would love to at least have that, because that saves a lot of time, and at least now they know the basics. So I think they're already there. They just need to
advance. And once you bring them in, how do you help them advance? It's a small business. You clearly don't have a training department.
No.
So how do they learn at J&P?
He would shadow one of my good guys for a couple weeks, and then we would put him on repeat jobs. For example, a lot of my jobs are repeat jobs. They come back. So if you learn how to run in one job, that job will come back hopefully next month or 90 days. So it's
So
most
that
of my
way,
work is repeat.
so if you got a lot of repeat work, if you can sort of train someone, then they can really perfect that kind of repeat job. So they're working that, and then maybe another job, you train them on that. So you're sort of training them job by job?
Job by job, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a really nice sort of stepped approach.
Exactly. We're not going to throw you in two different machines, and you'll run this job for a week, and then next job, and that's how it starts, step by step.
Is it like super high pressure, or are you guys really supportive in getting them started? Like, what is it like?
Very laid back. Our shop is very laid back. My dad is one of the nicest guy I ever worked for. He has guys that make their own schedule. They come in at 7, they could leave at 4. They come in at noon, they could leave at 8 at night. So we
really,
we
so you got some flexibility.
Yeah,
because that's I think something people don't think about. Everyone thinks of manufacturing. They think, I've got to show up at 9. The bell rings at noon. I go out with my lunch pail. I eat till 12:30. I'm back on.
No, so we try to change that. We try to be very flexible. Like I said, I have 2-3 guys coming a week after the regular job for part-time work to us.
Really?
And these guys are experienced. They run a job every day and then come in.
Get a little extra scratch.
Yeah. And Saturdays or Sundays, if they don't offer, a lot of companies right now, they offer overtime, so it's a little tough. But at one point, there's no overtime, so they will come in and make the extra money working in our shop.
Makes it, then you get to bring in some extra experience and look at that.
Yeah, and then so hopefully they stay. Hopefully they like us, and we try to convert them, stay with us.
Have you been able to be successful doing
that happened? Yeah.
That's exciting. What's the makeup of the employee base at J&P? Like, how old is it? An older workforce, younger?
Yeah.
What do you got?
So I have anywhere from age 25 to 60.
Okay, so you're spanning the normal.
Age doesn't mean nothing.
The normal gamut. And what are you thinking right now when you're at this trade show here and you're seeing? I mean, I don't know. We got hundreds and hundreds of young people. They seem pretty interested in what you guys are doing. What's the kind of conversations you're having with the young folks?
Well, everybody seems like they love this. If they didn't like this, I don't think they would show up, waste their time here. So there's a reason why they're here. Hopefully we'll get a couple interviews, and that's my goal from here today.
Build it from there, get some networking. So what do you see on the horizon? What's in the near future for J&P? What are your plans over the next couple of years?
So as of this month, we expand. We'll actually double our size. I'm renting another unit next to me, and we're going double size. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna move up to bigger work. I'm gonna buy bigger lathe from 20 to 25 inches. That will be our priority. Try to get some of that work, bigger parts. It seems like there's more work in that size from 20 to 25 inches.
Get a little bigger. So step by step, man, you're
Yeah.
just building it, starting small, getting bigger, doubling the size. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, so like I said, we never turned anything over 10, 12 inches. That was our max about 10 years ago. And then we went from 12 inches to 20 inches. And now my goal is now from 20 to 25, 26 inches, because I feel like we're declining the work. There's work out there in that size, and I don't have the capacity. I didn't have the capacity.
Capability.
Now I do, and so that's I'm kind of excited for that.
Dude, I'm very, very excited for you, Paul. It's a great, great story. Wish you all the best and really appreciate you stopping by to chat today.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by Compass MSP.
Thanks for listening and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a strong manufacturing community, and it would be impossible to do without all of you.